So let me now talk a bit about some of the actual technologies that are driving this. Robots, of course, have been around for a long time. If you had gone into an automotive factory in the US or Canada or any other advanced country back in the 1980s, say, you would have already seen these big, powerful industrial robots at work. And these are incredibly precise, powerful, fast, productive machines. And what all of this automation has meant in advanced economies is that within manufacturing type environments, all of the truly rote repetitive jobs, the kind of jobs where you literally stand on an assembly line and you do the same thing again and again, those kinds of jobs have been automated a long time ago. So the jobs that have been left in manufacturing in advanced nations have tended to be those that are to some extent unpredictable. Very often it's jobs that rely on qualities like visual perception and dexterity. Examples of that might be loading and unloading boxes in a factory or in a warehouse, or perhaps picking parts out of a bin and then feeding it into the next machine in the production process. These kinds of jobs are things that up until now, at least, machines have not been able to do, and so they've been saved for people. But that is something that is rapidly changing, and what you see in the photograph here is a picture of a robot that is built by a startup company in Silicon Valley, and actually this company was recently purchased by Google, so it's now part of Google's robotics division. But this is a robot that is specifically focused on loading and unloading moving boxes. And as you see in this photograph, it basically looks like a robotic arm, and at the end of that arm is a machine vision camera. And you can see in this picture that the robot is approaching this stack of boxes, and you'll notice that the boxes are not stacked precisely. Some are rotated. There are gaps between the boxes. The boxes are different sizes, different colors. Some have text on them. Up until very recently, figuring out how to move this stack of boxes would have been a visual perception and dexterity challenge that only a human worker would have been able to solve. But this company has built a robot that is doing it, and eventually they expect that this system will be able to move about a box every second. And that would compare to about a box every 6 seconds for a productive human worker. So you can see right there how that's going to be disruptive. And of course, this is a robot that will work continuously, right? It's not going to get tired. It's certainly not going to injure itself, hurt its back. It's not going to file a workers' compensation claim. So you can see how as this technology becomes more affordable, reliable, available, many businesses that need to do this kind of work are going to begin to rely on it. And in fact, Walmart just announced they're bringing in robots to help unload inventory in stores, for example. So this is beginning to happen already. And that's going to be incredibly disruptive to the job market. There are, in the US, hundreds of thousands of people that rely on this kind of work. Now, there's a very conventional way of viewing that, and I would tend to agree it's not wrong, but I think what many people would say is that, hey, if you have a job that involves lifting very heavy boxes all day, that's actually not such a great job. That's a job that very often will result in you getting injured. What we see is that people that do this kind of job over the course of a career, if they do it for decades, they very often end up being disabled, and then they can't work at all. So, I mean, you can make a pretty compelling argument that if a robot's going to come along that can do this kind of work, then that's not a bad thing. That's not something that we should, be concerned about, really. That's something that, in a sense, we should celebrate. Maybe people shouldn't be doing this kind of work. And of course, historically, there's always been a solution to that. And the solution is to take the person that loses this kind of manual work and provide that person with more skills, more training, so that they can move up that skills ladder, and hopefully then they can do something more sophisticated, right? They can do something that perhaps involves working in an office in a much more comfortable work environment, something that uses their brain more and their back less, and they end up in a much more inviting, comfortable, safer environment.